Caladiums and elephant ears are very attractive plants for the summer landscape. They give us sort of a tropical look to our gardens. And when it comes to elephant ears, we've got these tropical plants with the really huge leaves that look like the ears of an elephant that grow from a corm. It's actually a corm attached to a large tuber. But for general purposes, we usually just call them bulbs. But this large bulb part would be considered the tuber, and these little offshoots are known as the corms. And that's where new plantlets will arise on the elephant ear. Now, there are a number of plants that are called elephant ears. There's several different genera, but again, pretty much all in the arum family. And out here at our studio garden, we've grown several different types of these through the years. A couple years ago, we had an Asian food garden, and we had one type of elephant ear in there, and we talked about how this is a plant used by about 10% of the world's population as a good food item. Well, I have people write in from time to time on the program, and they talk about how they save their elephant ear bulbs from year to year, and when they plant them out in the spring, they're a little bit smaller than what they started out with. And that's because each year when you plant this big bulb in the ground, the original bulb will rot away, and either new corms or a totally new tuber will be produced on top of the plant. So if you start out with a really big bulb, we don't have a long enough growing season in Oklahoma for that bulb to get as big as the one you usually start with. So you can keep them from year to year, but they will get smaller and not quite as large as the bulb you start with. And it's interesting, the roots that develop on the elephant ear bulb, they're known as contractile roots, and those will sprout out here kind of along the base, and they will kind of pull that new bulb down to the same level. So each year a new bulb will form up here on the top, and the roots from it will keep pulling it down into the soil. So that's how the plant kind of stays where it is in the soil. Now, you could buy an elephant ear bulb like this and have a pretty good size, huge leaf tropical plant in your garden, or you could spend a little bit more money and get something like this. Again, these are both elephant ear bulbs. Now, you're going to spend a little bit more for this, but this was grown in either a tropical or subtropical part of the world, and you're really going to get some large leaves if you plant this elephant ear bulb. And again, you won't be able to have a bulb as large as this one to dig up in the fall, because it will produce another little bulb on top by the end of the growing season. But elephant ears are great additions to our garden to give us that tropical look. Well, closely related to elephant ears are the caladiums, and there are a number of ways you can purchase caladiums. You can purchase them already planted in a pot like this one, or you could also purchase the caladium tubers. And you can dig these up and store them through the winter and keep the same caladiums year after year. Now, one thing that you need to know about caladiums is that there's a trick to getting them to produce a lot more leaves. Now, this one looks a little bit sparse. There's probably 2 or 3 caladium bulbs in this pot, and you're definitely going to pay a lot more if you buy the potted up tubers in the garden center. But one way to get a lot more leaves from your caladium tubers is known as scarring out the buds or the eyes. Now, we can figure out which end is up. You can tell this is the bottom of the caladium tuber, and up here we got this big bud where a big leaf will come out in the center, but we've also got these little buds around the side as well. And what we're going to do is treat this sort of like a coleus that we would pinch back to get it to branch out more. We're going to take out the buds. We're going to scar out the leaf buds of our caladium tuber. You see where I just took that one out? Just everywhere there's a little bump, you're just going to make a little crater. Not only get the big one, but these bumps on the side here, again, just take a little paring knife and just everywhere there's a bump, we're just going to go around and just make a little divot or a little crater. And what this is going to cause is all the little hidden leaf buds that aren't up to the surface. It's going to cause all of those to sprout, and you can get easily 6 to 7 times as many leaves from your caladium tubers just by scarring out all those little buds. Now, right over here, we've got one that we worked on a couple days ago. And after you do this, you do kind of open up the tuber to some problems, some rots and things like that. So you want to set it aside and let it kind of dry out, let it kind of suberize like this one's done. See, it's kind of toughened up a little bit. So for at least 3 or 4 days, just let it kind of dry out a little bit, and then it's ready to plant like this one. And you'll get a lot more leaves from your caladiums. Now, whenever you plant caladiums outside in Oklahoma, I recommend doing it after about the first to second week of May. And that's because caladiums, and this goes for the elephant ears as well, are tropical plants. And sometimes we have them rot if we plant them too early. If you plant them early to mid-April, the soils are wet, they're really cold, they haven't really warmed up yet, and those caladium and elephant ear bulbs alike will rot sometimes. So again, wait till about the first or second week of May before you plant those out. And you should have a really good tropical foliage display in your garden.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.